Welcome to a brief presentation on the new Assisted Living Policy for 2023. This module will give your organization an overview of the changes of the new policy, as well as the next steps to implementation. Assisted Living Services, also known as ALS, have been providing essential support to people in supportive housing in Ontario since their introduction through the Long-Term Care Supportive Housing Policy in 1994. The program was further refined in the Assisted Living Services for High-Risk Seniors policy in 2011. Assisted Living Services were included in the 2021 Auditor General's annual report, acknowledging its value in improving the quality of life for seniors and people with certain health conditions, while also identifying areas for improvement. To address these opportunities for improvement and combine the strengths of previous policies, the Assisted Living Services Policy of 2023 has been introduced. This policy aims to enhance quality and adapt ALS to evolving client and health system needs. It outlines various provisions, including available services, eligibility criteria, legislative requirements, service locations, roles, responsibilities, and mandatory reporting. As part of the ongoing commitment to enhance the quality and accessibility of healthcare services in Ontario, this policy is the result of a remarkable collaborative effort with the Ministry of Health, Ontario Health, and Home and Community Care Support Services, along with valuable input from various stakeholders and service providers. Together, an updated policy was created that reflects the shared vision of providing exceptional care for the individuals in need. Through an extensive review conducted in partnership with the Auditor General, the Ministry has endeavored to make this policy more universal and standardized in language. The aim is to ensure that it reflects the diverse needs of the population we serve. The updated policy confirms support for key populations and pathways, such as high-risk seniors, physical disabilities, acquired brain injuries, and persons living with HIV or AIDS who require assisted living level of care services. By embracing this broader scope, it reinforces the commitment to inclusive and tailored care for each group. Now, let's delve into the key changes that this policy introduces. Change number 1, Service Maximums. The 2023 policy specifically excludes language aimed at limiting service hours for a client. The 2023 policy has been updated in alignment with the Connecting Care Act of 2019, ensuring that clients receive the care they need without any unnecessary restrictions. Change number 2, Section 4 on Eligibility Criteria. A quote from Section 4 of the Eligibility Criteria. Quote, "The individual client may, but does not have to be, on a waiting list for one or more LTC homes." End quote. This change now allows clients on a long-term care home waitlist to receive assisted living services, whereas previously, this would have disqualified them for service. Change number 3, on Section 5, Service Locations, Designated Geographic Service Area. To make services more accessible, clients now have the option to reside in a variety of settings within a designated geographic service area. These settings include private or non-profit housing such as standalone homes, townhouses, apartments, condominiums, housing cooperatives, or traditional subsidized housing like social housing or supportive housing buildings or apartments. Change number 4 on Section 7, Expectations for Key Service Delivery Functions. The new policy emphasizes consent, equity, culturally appropriate care, and supporting client choices and independence. It lays out specific guidelines for ALS health service providers, otherwise known as HSPs, to consider a client's preferences based on ethnic, spiritual, linguistic, familial, and cultural factors when developing and revising their care plan. Section 7.1 on Client Involvement and Preference. Quote, ALS HSPs shall also take into account a client's preferences based on ethnic, spiritual, linguistic, familial, and cultural factors when developing, evaluating, and revising the client's care plan. End quote. On Section 7.63, Development of a Client's Care Plan, quote, the care plan shall include at minimum considerations given to the client's linguistic, cultural, and religious needs. End quote. On Section 8 of the ALS HSP qualifications, quote, all ALS HSPs shall have a plan that reflects a commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion training for staff, including organizational policies on cultural safety and anti-racism. End quote. This language better lays out the vision for more inclusive care. Change number 5 on Section 7.8, Transition and discharge strategy. In the transition and discharge strategy, language has been reinforced to ensure adequate communication and transparency between ALS HSPs and clients. Decisions relating to transition and discharge will now be made after conducting a formal review of the client's care needs, and clients and their substitute decision makers will be actively involved in these decisions. Here is a quote from Section 7.8 of the 2023 policy. Quote, "Every assisted living service HSP shall only make decisions relating to transition and discharge after conducting a formal review of the client's care needs. The AL Services HSP shall ensure that the portions of the transition plan within its control are implemented. The AL Services HSP shall ensure that a copy and explanation of the transition plan is offered to the client, their substitute decision maker, or any other individual designated by the client. The AL Services HSP shall involve the client and their substitute decision maker, if any, when making transition and discharge decisions." End quote. These changes better lay out responsibilities of HSPs to ensure adequate communication and improve transparency. Change number 6, Section 8, ALS HSP qualifications. The policy now includes a reference to mandatory training in infection prevention and control for ALS HSPs. By ensuring appropriate training on health and safety processes, including infection prevention and control, otherwise known as IPAC processes, we aim to mitigate outbreaks, future pandemics, and the cold and flu seasons to protect both clients and providers. Quote, "All AL Services HSPs shall have a plan that ensures appropriate training for staff, including training on health and safety processes, including infection, prevention, and control processes." End quote. Change number 7, Section 9.2, Complaints and Appeals Processes. The Ministry recognizes the importance of empowering clients and their designates to resolve disputes effectively. To achieve this, the Ministry has added language in the policy providing clear and accessible information about AL services, procedures for making complaints or suggestions, and access to linguistic supports if available and relevant. As per Section 9.2 of the policy, quote, "AL Services HSPs shall ensure that a notice containing all of the following is given to each of the clients: the Patient Bill of Rights, the procedures for making complaints or suggestions relating to the provision of AL services, a request for access to a record of personal health information, and how to access linguistic supports, if available and relevant. Every AL Services HSP shall ensure that a client is provided with the following: clear and accessible information about the AL services provided to the client and how to appeal decisions made by the AL Services HSPs that give rise to a right of appeal to the Health Service Provider Appeal and Review Board. If a prospective client or client indicates a preference to receive AL services in French, the AL Services HSP shall provide the AL services in French or refer the prospective client or client to another HSP that offers AL services in French. Change number 8, Section 10.3, Reporting Standards. As per Section 10.3 of the policy, HSPs now have additional metrics to report to Ontario Health, providing a more comprehensive picture of service capacity in each region. These metrics include hours of care/hours of service contracted out, and hours of care/hours of service in-house. The Ministry will help Ontario Health identify areas that may need additional supports. The requirements are reported through the functional centres FC 72.5 8245 CSS IHCOM for all but ABI patients, and functional centre FC 72.5 8345 CSS ABI assisted living. These changes reflect our commitment to continuous improvement and our dedication to providing exceptional care for all individuals in need. The ongoing collaboration with the Ministry of Health, Ontario Health, Home and Community Care Support Services, and various stakeholders has been instrumental in shaping this progressive policy. We will also review and adapt the policy annually to learn from implementation and incorporate feedback, ensuring we stay aligned with health transformation initiatives. As HSPs begin implementing the updated policy changes throughout the province, education sessions will be conducted to ensure a clear understanding of the changes and their implications. Additionally, we are fostering local discussions among providers to explore the various service delivery model options, seeking a better integrated approach that benefits our clients. With this policy refresh, we have opportunities to enhance and optimize our transition and discharge processes, ultimately improving the overall client experience. As we move forward, we must remain focused on the potential benefits and opportunities presented by this policy. By leveraging our collective efforts and fostering collaboration among stakeholders, we can create a more cohesive and effective system that delivers quality care to those in need. For further information on the policy changes, please contact your regional Ontario Health representative.